When Mr. Trump made a statement about putting 25% tariff across all the products coming in from Canada, then, I was worried about, okay, what's going to happen with the Canadian economy, because the Canadian economy is already struggling. Whether you agree or not, we are in recession. We are in technical recession. If you look at GDP per capita, we are pretty much contracting for the past 8 out of 9 quarters. And when Trump made that statement, we did not see anything responded by the PM's office. Okay, I saw Doug Ford responded to that threat. I saw Daniel Smith responded to that threat, but there was nothing officially came in from PM office. And there was an article published today on CNBC about the automotive industry in Canada and how these tariffs are going to put a big dent into the automotive industry in Canada. Just to put things into perspective, Ontario is the center hub, the epicenter of the automotive industry in Canada. Ontario alone has produced 1.5 million vehicles in 2023. And we're talking about 5 major manufacturers: Ford, General Motors, Stellantis, Toyota, and Honda. So all of these 5 manufacturers have produced 1.5 million lightweight vehicles in 2023, and pretty much 95% of them were exported into the US. And then from a dollar terms perspective, Canada has exported around 23.5 billion worth of automotive parts into the US and around 53.5 billion worth of cars into the US. From imports perspective, Canada has imported 47.5 billion worth of automotive parts from the US and 70.4 billion worth of cars from the US into Canada. So you understand now the scale of this, okay? If these tariffs are applied, it's going to have a massive repercussions for the automotive industry. And just to let you know that the automotive industry has been struggling for quite some time. It's just about to change its trajectory for the past 2 years, and it's moving upward direction. And if these tariffs are applied, these tariffs are going to be applied on the manufacturers, but the manufacturer will simply pass on the cost to the consumer. So imagine if 25% tax levy or tariff is applied on these cars that are being produced in Canada and being exported in the US. Those cars will become expensive for those consumers in the US. The US consumer has choices, okay? If Canadian cars become expensive, they will simply turn towards another manufacturer who is producing cars in the US. Okay, so those cars will be 25% cheaper, more or less, for the same consumer. So they will simply switch the manufacturer, right? So this is going to have significant repercussions for Canadian automotive industry if these tariffs are applied. And especially when the economy is still struggling from a GDP perspective, we have unemployment going up. These tariffs could also fuel the unemployment in the automotive industry going forward. So the threat is serious. The threat is serious. I think the government will have to sit down with the US counterparts to negotiate and do some sort of a bilateral agreement to keep things alive, because these tariffs are going to be devastating for Canadian economy, for Canadian employment, for Canadian manufacturers, and then for the consumer, they will have to pay for these tariffs. Ultimately, the manufacturer will pass on these tariffs onto the consumer, and consumer will actually pay for this. The US citizen, the US consumers have more choices, so they can simply switch the brand, and this will impact the production, the sales, the jobs, and overall automotive industry in Canada. So what we should do? I think my outlook into the Canadian economy is still weak, so I'm trying to reduce my exposure into Canadian economy as much as I can from investment perspective. So I'm investing into US stocks, especially in technology, AI-driven, quantum computing, Bitcoin, as well as some emerging economies like Dubai. I invest into Dubai real estate on fractional ownership basis using the stake platform. If I have to keep cash, I try to keep them in US dollar as much as possible to reduce my exposure towards the FX risk. We can do things that we have control over. We cannot change the politics, we cannot change the trade policies, but at least we should be looking at all of these macro fundamentals and economic indicators and make sure we allocate our portfolio accordingly to protect ourselves from any significant downside from these policies. Anyway, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Financial education is very important for everybody, especially for the kids who are still at school, because when they grow up and go into the professional lives, if they don't know how to manage their finances, that is going to be a disaster to begin with. I have just published an ebook for the kids aging between 10 and 16 years to understand how they can manage their finances. So when they grow up, they know exactly how to manage their personal finances, because I have broken it down at a very, very basic level. What is money? how can we save, how can we invest, what is debt, how can we use debt, what is credit card, and how we can set ourselves for the financial future when we go into our professional life. So if you are a parent looking for a very simple to use ebook for your kids, click the link below to order the copy for your kids and let me know what you think about that. Let's get back to the video. If you are an investor in the US, in Canada, or in Europe, and you are considering investing into Dubai real estate market, this video is for you, because we have a platform called Stake, which allows you to invest into the residential real estate market and start earning rental income right away without going through a lengthy documentation process or coming up with a heavy down payment. Stake is built upon the concept of crowdfunding. So it is democratizing the entire investment strategy and allows you to own a single unit of the entire investment portfolio. So you don't have to own the entire property, right? You can be part of the pool that can actually own a piece of property, a piece of real estate. So that allows you to start with as low as 2,000 dirhams, and you can slowly ramp up. So as you start investing into it, you can not only own a bit of real estate, but you also get a portion of the rental income on monthly basis. So it's a passive investment strategy, diversifying your portfolio from traditional North American or European markets into Dubai, which is hustling and bustling and growing very fast, and allows you to build your wealth over time. So don't delay. There is a link down there in the description. If you click on this, it will give you free 200 dirhams in your account right away to start with, and you can thank me later.